Dojima. What's up, Kohai? Today we're making Dojima Gin's team's version of the Hachis Parmentier from that battle that the students had on the Totsuki train arc.
なんつう滑らかなポムピューレ。不思議な魔法でありえねえほどきめ細やかに作った綿菓子って感じだ。
We made Team Saiba's quite a while ago, so if you want to check that video out after this one, the link's going to be down below so you can compare the two. Now the first thing we're going to do is work on the mirepoix for both the espagnole sauce and for the sofrito we're going to need for the beef later. Start off by peeling around 300 grams worth of carrot. Once you have your carrots peeled, move on to the celery, which we do need to clean up a bit before we start rough chopping this. These looking kind of jank. We're going to get rid of some of this. So I guess we're using like 200 grams of celery. It's fine. Once you remove some of the jank celery, go ahead and rough chop half of that celery, keeping the other half for the sofrito. Same thing with carrot. We're just gonna use this one honker. This carrot, this is a carrot. Now that you figured out that that's a carrot, get that rough chopped and place this into the same container with all of your celery. We're also going to rough chop 1/2 an onion. This is about 200 grams worth of onion. The other 200 grams we'll do a small dice on, so that way it'll look really nice and pretty for the sofrito. You should have about 2 parts onion, 1 part everything else. Now this is gonna be for the espagnole sauce. You can see it's not too much mirepoix because we're really not making a ton of this sauce. Now moving on to the nicer cuts that you're going to need for that beef filling, and for the sofrito we're going to use the same celery, making sure that we cut these into thin strips. They basically want to look like a long julienne in a way, but really just try to make it somewhat thin, looking at about 1/4 of an inch of thickness. This is what my celery starts to look like as I start to prep it. Now grab all of your celery, making sure you bunch it up into a nice little bundle, and then starting at one end, start dicing your celery. Remember, when we're dicing the celery, don't dice it too small. You want it around 1/4 of an inch. Otherwise, if it's too small, it's going to get lost with all the beef and you're not going to have a lot of texture behind each bite. Once you're done with your beautifully diced celery, place all of this into a small quart container, making sure you spill half of it all over the table. Now we're going to cut the carrots just about the same way as we did the celery. You're going to start off by making some thinner slices of your carrot. This is kind of what you want your carrot to start to look like first. Once you have your carrots nicely sliced up into around 1/4 inch of thickness, we're going to slice them into somewhat of a baton, or really like a rough julienne. These don't have to be perfect, just really take your time with it getting these nice strips. The reason why we're doing the nice strips is so now you can take your nice bundle like we did earlier with the celery, and then you can start getting that really nice dice, trying to match it up to about the same size as the celery that we did, just so everything is nice and uniform. Now we more or less have our carrots ready to go. They're not super even, but they don't need to be. It's okay. Now once you have your carrots ready to go, just place them on top of your celery that you cut earlier in the same container. It's gonna be totally fine. Now working with that next half an onion. This onion again comes out to around 250 grams, and we want to make sure that we give it around 5 to 6 slices going into the onion before we start cutting this into our brunoise. After you do those first slices, make sure you slice it across the top. This way you can start getting a really nice brunoise, almost a little bigger than a brunoise to be honest, for your onion. You just want to make sure again that your onion is around the same size as the carrots and the celery you did earlier. Otherwise you're gonna have big old chunks of onions and the carrots and celery are gonna get lost and you're just gonna have a bad time. Now take all of your onion and place this into the container with the celery and the carrots, and now defend your leaf village. I'm gonna throw a lid on this. Oh yeah, there's the mirepoix. Oh god. Now that we have all of our mirepoix and our mise en place ready to go, we can actually start making our espagnole sauce, because this does take quite a bit of time to reduce. We're talking about 2 to 2.5 hours. So now for the espagnole sauce, you're going to start off with around 50 grams of butter into a deep pot. After that, you're going to immediately add in all of your mirepoix. The reason for this is we actually want the mirepoix and the butter to cook together. You're going to get some browning from this, and it's going to start caramelizing the vegetables just a touch, not enough to really add too much color or make it to where it's caramelized onions. After around 10 to 15 minutes over a medium heat, this is when we're going to add 50 grams worth of flour to start making our roux. We want to make sure that the heat isn't too hot, otherwise you will burn the flour and burn your roux. You're going for a brown roux on this. It's 1 step above a blonde, and it's going to be just a little more deep in color. This takes about 10 minutes, so feel free to do whatever is happening on screen right now and enjoy your happy dance or your copy of Annie Bites at the Kickstarter down below. After doing your happy dance, we're going to add in 25 grams worth of tomato paste. We want to actually cook the tomato paste down to remove a lot of that acidity and just bring out some of that tomato flavor. After cooking down your tomato for a few minutes, we're going to add in 2 whole cloves worth of garlic. Make sure you give that a nice stir, and this is what your mirepoix starts to look like. You can see it's actually starting to thicken up because of that roux. This is when we're going to add in 1 liter worth of beef stock. You can either purchase a really nice one or have some homemade. Mine I pulled out of the freezer earlier, and I'm able to use it for this stock, so make sure you utilize those bones when you need to. Give this a stir, making sure nothing is stuck to the bottom. That is really important when you're making this. And once this this starts coming up to a simmer after a few minutes to start activating that roux, we're gonna move it to the other stove because this needs to reduce by a third, which is going to take about 2 hours. So we don't need to burn up this butane. 2 hours on the stove. We'll also make sure it's kind of covered, you know, like lids slightly off. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Now for this achiote sauce, or it's actually going to be an oil, you are going to need a mortar and pestle. And if you don't have one, you can choose a blender. Blender is going to work totally fine, but traditionally it's done in one of these guys. Now in your mortar and pestle, we're going to add in 4 anchovy fillets with 2 whole cloves of garlic, followed by around 20 grams worth of capers with some of the caper juice. And then we're going to start breaking this down with our mortar and pestle. Be super careful while you're doing this initially so nothing splashes into your eyeballs, because I have had caper juice in my eyes before and it is not exciting and I do not recommend. After a few minutes, you'll have something that looks like canned tuna or Gandalf or Lucian's food, and that's kind of the consistency you're looking for before you add in 100 milliliters of olive oil to finish off your paste. This is what it starts to look like. Can you see that? It's kind of pale. And now the other thing is too is that I feel like if I strain this right away, it's going to lose a lot of those developing flavors. So we're actually going to put this into a smaller container first, let it hang out for like 15 to 20 minutes at room temp, and then strain it, because then I feel like the flavors are going to be so much better. Oh, that does not look appetizing. Now after removing all of your paste and letting it sit for a little while, we're going to go ahead and strain this. And to strain this, you're going to need a coffee filter and a small strainer. Place all of your cat food looking oil into that piece, and we're going to let this strain for around 15 minutes, trying to press it with a spoon gently to try to get some of that oil out of there. And unfortunately that didn't work, so I removed the coffee filter and it worked so much better without getting any sediment in there. This is going to work out fine, I think, I hope. Kind of. Now then, you may be asking, Paul, what about the mashed potatoes? We're going to take potato, put it in the pot. We're going to add water. Now I need more water. Boil this thing, like 45 minutes, maybe? Or throw it in the microwave for 7, I don't care. Now summon the world's cutest sauce pot along with 50 grams worth of butter and an equal amount of heavy cream. Now while the potato's working, we're just gonna put this over the stove on a super low heat just to make sure it's nice and hot and melted, but don't try to like scald it or anything like that, just melt it slightly. Once the butter is melted, that's it, it's done, turn it off. So our espagnole sauce has been going for just about 90 minutes. It hasn't gone for that full 2 hours, but it's reduced, I think, enough. It's reduced by half, which is a little further than I wanted it to go, but it's still really rich. I wish you guys could smell the smells in here. Absolutely, just like you want to drink it. Don't do that, that's really hot. Now we do need to strain out this sauce completely because you don't want any of those chunks. You want this sauce to be nice and smooth and velvety when we're ready to work with it later. Get all of that good strained out of there, and you can really keep this and turn it into a pureed soup later, but that's for another video. Make sure you get all of that sauce strained, getting as much out of there as possible because we just spent 2 hours reducing this and we don't want to throw any of it away. Once you get your sauce strained into that other pot, this is when we're going to hit it with around 30 grams worth of whole butter. Place this directly into your sauce and start mixing it together. You don't actually need to bring this back over to the stove. The butter will fully melt with the residual heat from that sauce. Once that butter is melted, you're gonna have this beautiful velvety sauce left. Make sure you do give this a taste for salt, pepper, or any other seasonings you may want to add right now. Oh my God. Oh, that's good. We're gonna leave this on the stove. Can already taste everything. Oh. Now to finish this dish off, take another 20 grams worth of butter and place it into a heavy bottomed pan. Get that melting and mix up all of your mirepoix because we had it layered, which was a stupid move on my part, and place around 1 large handful of your mirepoix directly into this pan. Bring this back down to around a medium heat. We're not actually trying to get a ton of color on these vegetables. We're just trying to get them tender and get them sweating from a little bit of heat. Cook this for around 10 to 15 minutes, and this is what your mirepoix should look like. Not too much color, but still really tender. From here, add in 2 parts worth of beef. So I used around 100 grams worth of mirepoix and 200 grams worth of beef. And my preference is 80-20 ground beef on this. Make sure you hit this with a good amount of salt and a good amount of black pepper, like a little more black pepper than you think you need. Give this a good mix and continue cooking this over a medium heat until the beef is fully cooked through. This is what your beef should start to look like. This is ready to eat right now, like throw this into a bun and call it a day, but we need to add our espagnole sauce. I'm adding in 45 milliliters worth of our sauce directly to the ground beef and mirepoix mixture. Now we need to reduce this sauce once again. This is going to fully fortify this sauce with the ground beef and the mirepoix, making it very rich and super flavorful. Make sure you keep this heat around a low medium heat so that way it doesn't reduce too quickly and break. Continue cooking this for around 10 to 15 minutes until that sauce is almost fully reduced. You do not want this to be too wet, otherwise it will bleed into the Parmentier later when you start stacking it. Oh my God. Little more pepper. After reseasoning it and tasting it once again, this is how far I have reduced all of my Espagnole sauce, making sure it is not super wet. This is ready to go. We have mashed potatoes to make. Let's assemble this guy. I'm so excited to try this and see how it compares to the other one, you know, to Team Saiba. My bad. It's a really good song. So now for the mashed potatoes, super simple. We're gonna heat up that cream and butter again, just because it kind of cooled down. It's been a minute. Get yourself a nice heat-proof stainless steel bowl. We're gonna grab the potatoes out of the water. Probably not with your hands. Don't do that. That's just dumb. And then we're gonna peel the skins off. This should come off. Woo! Yeah, that's warm. This is hot. It's fine. We don't need fingers. If you want to keep your fingers intact, you can also remove this with a knife or a spoon and then grab yourself a potato masher and break this down slightly. If you don't have a strainer to press through or a ricer to make sure that this gets super creamy, you can just use the potato masher to try to get them as smooth as possible. Or one of my favorite ways is just using a KitchenAid. Start pressing all of your potato through your strainer, allowing it to fall into the bowl below. This is going to give you an incredibly creamy mashed potato. See that didn't take too long. Look at all it looks like snow. Look at how cool that looks. A beautiful potato. Make sure you scrape all that good off there. After pressing all of your potato through, hit this with your cream and butter mixture we had heated up earlier. Make sure you season this with a decent pinch of salt. This is going to be to your liking, so that's totally up to you. Give this a quick mix and then give it a taste. So good, so freaking good. Okay, let's assemble this bad boy, huh? Grab yourself whatever plate you want. I'm just using one of my this is like the only plate that I use. You're also gonna need a ring mold. If you don't have a ring mold, check out my harina souffle pancake video where I show you how to make one out of aluminum foil. Super easy to do. We're just gonna use one of these, grease it up, a little bit of pan spray, easy. You can also just grease it up with some butter or oil, but make sure it's not too much. I think I actually put a little bit of too much pan spray. I don't want it on the plate, you know? Nobody needs that. So I'm going to use a portion scoop. You don't have to be this extra. You can honestly just take some of the beef, put it in a bowl, mashed potatoes on top, brulee it, done. Now the scoop that I'm using with 3 full portions of this potato comes out to around 100 to 110 grams worth of mashed potato. What you're looking to do is fill this up 1/3 of the way up your mold, then grab the back of a spoon and start pressing this directly into the mold to make sure it's nice and tight. This will give you really nice layers later, and this is what my potato starts to look like. Once you have that nicely packed in, this is when we're going to add 1/3 worth of your beef as a layer in that mold. This way, when we finish it off with the mashed potatoes later, you're going to have an equal portion of potato on the bottom and the top and an equal portion in the middle of your beef. Again, make sure you press this down with the back of the spoon and try to work somewhat quickly. The reason for that is you can see some of the oil leach through this ring mold, and honestly, pro tip, if you want to form these and you want to make quite a few of them, make them on a sheet tray first and then transfer them to the plate later. Now finish this off with another portion of your potato. I'm actually going with 2 scoops with a potato to start because I did actually put in a little extra beef. Let's be honest here, I wanted more beef than potato, and get this nice and smoothed out. Add a touch more potato if needed to fill out that layer, and once you're done with that, this is when we're going to get some freshly grated Parmesan. This is going to be that beautiful Parmesan layer that they were talking about. I'm using my microplane to make sure it's nice and small, so this way when I go to torch it, it torches really nicely. Make sure that the layer isn't too thick though, otherwise it won't torch properly, so that's totally up to you with how much cheese you want. Clean up some of the oil off of the plate just to make it look a little more pretty and presentable, and we are ready. And really what's keeping this together is the Kohai community and your guys' support for the Kickstarter that we're launching this month. I finally released physical versions of my Annie Bites cookbooks with full artwork for each of them. I am so excited to get these out to you guys. I'm so excited to share these with you guys with full artwork. We have 10 recipes per book, and you can pick these up on Kickstarter right now at the link down below. We're a couple of weeks into the campaign. I would love your guys' support on this. You're gonna get a bunch of cool extra goodies for different tiers. These books wouldn't have come to life without you guys, and would love your support over on Kickstarter at the link down below. And let's get this project going so that way we can make a bunch more Annie Bites with a bunch of cool artwork. And to show my love and support for my fellow Kohai, I'm giving away a set of my books for every single video this month. All you have to do is let me know in the comments down below whether or not you're Team Saiba or Team Jean. Thank you guys for checking that out. Let's go ahead and finish this Hachis Parmentier. Oh, look at that, like a glove. Oh, baby, that looks so good. That looks so good. Holy crap, hold on. Where's my phone? I need pictures. Okay, not gonna lie, the oil actually looks really beautiful on this. Can you see the color difference, right? It just provides just that little bit extra. Okay, we're almost done, we gotta torch it. My thing broke. Little aggro. We don't want to burn the house down. Look at this freaking magic. Get some on the mashed potato, you know, right there. Get a little crust. Now for the final bit, our little touch of our anchovy oil. You don't want too much of this because it is very strong. We're just gonna do a little dollop. It's kind of hard to see, but again, we don't want to put too much of it because it is strong. That is it. There it is, guys. Team Dojima's Hachis Parmentier. Perimeter. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited to dig into this. It's been a labor of love today. It's been about 2.5 to 3 hours of total cook time, and this looks so worth it. Just like my Kickstarter is gonna be worth it to you. Oh, look at how beautifully this cuts. That's exactly what I was looking for. Like I can take a chunk out of it and just look at this. Look at those layers. What else do you want? Cheers. The potato flavor, the anchovy flavor, the caper flavor, the filling of the beef and the mirepoix, and the sweetness of the espagnole, and the slight saltiness from the parmesan. Everything works so well here, and I'm going to say this on record, this is better than the Saiba version. It tastes so much more nice. It tastes so much closer to a cottage pie. Absolutely love it. The only thing better than this is the Kickstarter at the links down below where you can pick up my brand new cookbooks. Love your support on that, guys. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed, and remember, keep playing with your food.